You'll never amount to anything, Anya. My mother's words echoed in the sterile hospital waiting room, the scent of antiseptic clinging to the air. My stomach dropped. My hands trembled as I clutched the worn strap of my backpack. She said it with such conviction, dismissively waving a hand. Inside, I was screaming. Outside, I remained composed. Later that day, a small victory, a scholarship confirmation email pinged in my inbox. A secret I would savor alone. But what if I told you you're about to witness the ultimate comeback? If you've ever felt invisible, hit subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss how Anya turns the tables. The sting of her pronouncements festered, yet it was not an isolated incident but a brutal pattern. It began subtly. As children, while my stepsister, Brianna, received riding lessons and a pony for her 12th birthday, I got a second-hand bicycle, its gears grinding under the weight of unspoken comparisons. Her privileged existence was a constant, painful contrast to my own frugality. Brianna needs the best, my mother frequently justified, her voice laced with a subtle disdain that implied I didn't deserve it. The memory of Brianna's new computer versus my hand-me-down still burned. While they celebrated Brianna's academic successes, I was met with indifference. The final straw shattered during my senior year of high school. The college fund was gone. It's for Brianna's future, my mother declared, her eyes avoiding mine. My stepfather remained silent, complicit in this act of betrayal. You're smart, Anya, you'll figure something out, she added, a dismissive pat on my shoulder the only offering. I remember the sound of the rain beating against my window that night, each drop a hammer blow against my hopes. That evening my grandfather said, "You have our support always," and I swore to myself that they would regret this. Anya channeled her fury into action. She worked tirelessly through college, juggling multiple part-time jobs, tutoring, waitressing, even cleaning offices in the dead of night. The grease-stained floors, the harsh chemical smells, the bone-deep fatigue, all fuel for her silent inferno. No complaining, no explaining, no giving in. Her grandmother's legacy was an old investment account with a few $1,000s, a nest egg she had forgotten about. That was Anya's starting point. It was nothing, yet everything. She devoured books on finance, mastered spreadsheets, and learned the intricacies of the stock market. Her small investments grew, slowly but steadily, mirroring her quiet determination. First, a down payment on a small apartment, a symbol of her growing independence. Then, the purchase of a dilapidated house, renovated and flipped for a substantial profit. Next, a successful foray into tech startups, carefully selecting companies poised for explosive growth. These were not just milestones, they were defiant acts of self-creation. Anya carefully cultivated her low-key persona. She drove a modest car and dressed simply, avoiding any display of wealth. While her stepsister flaunted designer clothes and extravagant vacations, Anya quietly amassed her fortune. The contrast was deliberate, a calculated strategy. One evening at a charity gala, Anya overheard her mother bragging about Brianna's upcoming wedding, a lavish affair funded in part by a loan from a generous benefactor. Anya's fist clenched, but she smiled politely and walked away. Not yet. The time wasn't right. Then came the text. Anya, Brianna needs help. Can you spare anything? The silence stretched, thick with unspoken history. The dam was about to break. A wave of nausea washed over me. Spare anything, the audacity was breathtaking. I typed a curt, "I'll consider it," and tossed my phone onto the plush velvet couch. Consider it. I'd been preparing for this moment for years. The annual family reunion loomed, a carefully orchestrated gathering at my Aunt Carol's sprawling lakeside home in Wisconsin. Aunt Carol was my mother's younger sister, and the only one who had consistently shown me kindness. This year, it would be different. This year, I would attend not as the forgotten niece, but as someone they couldn't ignore. I booked a private consultation with a stylist, selecting a sophisticated, understated dress that whispered of wealth without shouting. I practiced my smile in the mirror, confident, composed. The new watch I bought subtly revealed my status. The day arrived, crisp and sunny. As I pulled into the driveway, a black SUV, the sight of the familiar faces sent a jolt of adrenaline through me. Laughter and chatter spilled from the open windows, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. My mother spotted me first. "Anya, you came." Her tone was a mixture of surprise and forced enthusiasm. "You look, well." It was well that was loaded with years of dismissal and condescension, Brianna, resplendent in a designer sundress, offered a perfunctory hug. Good to see you, Anya, still doing the financial thing. There was a slight condescension in her voice. The scent of barbecue filled the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of freshly cut grass. Laughter echoed across the lawn. I took a deep breath and returned the smile. Indeed. It's going quite well. No one suspected, not yet. Quite well, my mother repeated, a skeptical lift to her eyebrow. What does that even mean? That was my cue. I took a slow, deliberate sip of my iced tea, savoring the coolness before setting the glass down on a nearby table. It means, I began, my voice calm and steady, that I've done rather well for myself in the last few years. I paused, letting my words hang in the air. For example, I continued, glancing at Brianna, who was now fiddling nervously with her designer sunglasses. That loan your benefactor so generously provided, I actually own the firm that facilitated it. Brianna's jaw dropped. Her hand flew to her mouth, sunglasses sliding precariously down her nose. My mother's face paled, her eyes widening with disbelief. The laughter from the lawn abruptly ceased, replaced by an unsettling silence. And that little boutique you've been eyeing, I continued, turning my attention back to my mother, my voice still even. I purchased the building it's in last quarter. A gasp escaped my mother's lips. Her carefully applied makeup seemed to crack under the strain of her shock. Her eyes darted around as if she were trying to find an escape route. It was then that my stepfather stepped forward, a scowl hardening his features. What is this, Anya? Some kind of joke? I smiled, a genuine smile this time devoid of bitterness. Hardly. I also own several LLCs, a real estate company, a consulting firm, a tech startup that you probably use. They all contribute to to my financial success. I watched the blood drain from his face. His knuckles turned white as he clenched his fists. My mother started shaking. The point is, Mother, I continued, my voice unwavering, I am doing exceptionally well, considerably better than you ever imagined, despite your best efforts. I met her gaze, holding it. The silence stretched, punctuated only by the chirping of crickets. The power had shifted. It was palpable, undeniable. I was no longer the victim. I was the victor. My mother's face was a mask of humiliation and regret. This was my moment. So about Brianna's apartment, my mother blurted, attempting to regain composure, a pathetic tremor underlying her tone. The manipulation was blatant. Could you maybe? I cut her off with a raised hand. The apartment, interesting timing. Considering you stole my college fund for Brianna's future, you'll understand if I prioritize other investments. The irony wasn't lost on me. You laughed then, you're not laughing now. Brianna, recovering slightly, chimed in, her voice laced with a desperate sweetness. Anya, we're family, can't you help just this once? Family, the word tasted like ash in my mouth. I tilted my head, studying her. Family helps family, I stated coolly, watching realization dawn on her face. Perhaps you should have considered that 6 years ago. My stepfather finally spoke, his voice rough. This is about revenge, isn't it? You've been planning this. I met his gaze, unwavering. Justice, I corrected. And self-preservation, you made your choices, now live with them. I'm not the same pushover you knew, I thought but said nothing. My mother, desperate, tried a different tactic. We always believed in you, Anya, deep down. A hollow laugh escaped my lips. Really, because I distinctly remember being told I would amount to nothing. My eyes scanned the faces of my family. I felt nothing but disdain for them. Perhaps you should have invested in me instead of against me. The silence returned, heavier than before. I turned to leave. As I reached the door, I paused, turning back to face them one last time. Oh, and Mother, I said casually, that loan you needed a generous benefactor for, I'm calling it in. Their faces mirrored my triumph as I left. A one-liner to punctuate the moment. The color drained from my mother's face, leaving her skin ashen. You wouldn't, she whispered, the words barely audible. I smiled, a slow, deliberate curve of my lips. Oh, but I would, and I will. I paused for dramatic effect, letting the silence amplify my words. You see, that loan isn't just any loan, it's secured against your house. A collective gasp filled the air. Brianna's eyes widened in horror, while my stepfather's face contorted in a mixture of fury and panic. The house was everything to them. It was more than just bricks and mortar. It was a symbol of their success, their status, their carefully constructed image. Now that image was about to crumble. You can't do that, my stepfather roared, his voice cracking with desperation. That's our home. Precisely, I replied calmly, my voice devoid of emotion. And it's collateral for a debt you can't repay. Unless, of course, you have a spare million or so lying around. The realization hit them like a physical blow. They had been so blinded by their own greed and arrogance that they hadn't considered the implications of their actions. They had underestimated me, believing I was still the powerless, insecure girl they had dismissed years ago. They were wrong, terribly wrong. This is insane, you're destroying your own family, my mother shrieked, her voice rising in hysteria. You destroyed our family long ago, I retorted, my voice steely. I'm simply cleaning up the mess. I turned and walked away, leaving them to wallow in their despair. The house, the symbol of their success, I controlled it now. I had the ultimate leverage. The game was over. Years drifted, the dust of that day settling unevenly. Attempts at contact persisted, feigned apologies mixed with veiled requests. I selectively engaged with Carol, our bond deepening, while maintaining a polite distance from my mother and stepfather. My life flourished. The weight of secrecy lifted, replaced by a sense of lightness. I invested in myself, travel, art, experiences long denied. My apartment blossomed with life. My happiness was not dependent on their validation. Looking back, the money was secondary to the triumph. I had reclaimed my power, redefined my worth. I embraced the freedom to live authentically, unfettered by the past. I am enough. Psst, ever feel that sweet satisfaction? Share Anya's story, it's proof we all have power to rise. Remember, revenge is fleeting success. That's the real payback.